Welcome to Protagonist Pub. My name is Tammy, and characters are gathered around the dining room table this afternoon. So, I am shelling green beans in the background as I talk about the books to my left. But today, I am stealing a video idea from the lovely Anne over at In Search of Wonder. I will link her video in the description box down below. She did this lovely video, probably several months ago now, about books that have a strong sense of place. And I just loved that idea. And I'm trying not to duplicate any books Anne mentioned, and I think there's only one that is a possibility, but I just thought this was such a brilliant idea, because we don't talk about the sense of place as being important often enough. So I'm going to start with the book that I think Anne may have mentioned. And this is Anne of Avonlea by Ellen Montgomery. It is the first book in the Anne of Green Gables series. By the way, I still just love this cover. I have the whole set in this edition, and I'm very thankful for that. But back to the sense of place. Avonlea, which is a little village on Prince Edward Island in Canada, comes alive in this book because of not just the people that populate Avonlea, but the descriptions of the countryside and the way things come alive from winter or come into full bloom in spring, and the effect of the ocean and storms. All of that is the unspoken background character in the series. And it is probably when I first fell in love with the environment as a character as a child. And it is absolutely brilliantly done in a middle grade book, and I loved it immensely. So next one is, I've read this book. I do not like this copy. I'm still searching for the copy I want, but I at least have it now. This is the autobiography of Henry VIII with notes by his fool, Will Summers. This is by Margaret George. It is a big old chunker in this format. It's always a chunker, but this one is 912 pages. And if you want Tudor England to come alive with all of the intrigue and shenanigans and treachery, this is the book. I read this, I was in college. So, you know, first published in 1986. I probably read it shortly thereafter. Still think about it to this day. Still love it to this day. I have most of her other books on my shelf. If you want some of the best researched historical fiction out there, Margaret George is your author. And Tudor England under Henry is alive in this book. All of it. He's just alive in this book, and I cannot recommend it enough. So, and for a complete detour, Gone with the Wind by Margaret Mitchell. We all talk about Scarlet. We all talk about Rhett. Love it or hate this book, whatever your political leanings or your ultimate reading of the character of Scarlet, the Old South is in this book. The Old South that was a part of American history that we cannot whitewash, we should not whitewash, is in this book. It is, again, the unsung background character that drives the narrative without the reader being aware of it. You cannot tell the story of Gone with the Wind and tell it in, let's say, New York. Wouldn't work. You can't tell the story of Gone with the Wind and have it be through, an abolitionist's eyes. It wouldn't work. It wouldn't be Gone with the Wind. It would be something incredibly different. I'm not saying it would be bad. I'm just saying it wouldn't be the story Margaret Mitchell wrote, extensively researched, and it is undervalued today, and it should be read. It is a perfect book for Big Book Summer, and it is a challenging read if you go in with preconceived notions of what it should be or how life should be, not how life actually was. So there you go. Okay, next is the second in a series, because I didn't want to go hunting for the first in the series. That is The Valley of Horses by Gina M. All. This is the one I'm on. And this is, the first book is Clan of the Cave Bear, which I highly recommend. This is prehistory. This is Neanderthals and the human girl that gets adopted by Neanderthals, particularly in Clan of the Cave Bear. We start branching out into humans in Valley of the Horses. But there is a very strong sense of a new, challenging world that can kill you because you are not the apex predator, and you have to fight to survive. I absolutely loved Clan of the Cave Bear. I want to finish the series next year. We shall see if that happens, but it has this, I can't say it's realistic. Nobody can say if it's realistic or not. However, you get the sense of wonder of what it would have been like to be a small clan of people trying to survive in what can only be categorized as an incredibly hostile environment. And I truly recommend the entire series, even without having read it. If it lives up to the first book, great. So that is Clan of the Cave Bear. And next up would be Love in the Eternal City by Rebecca W. Martin. This is a contemporary Catholic romance. It is the first book in the Swiss Guard romance series. It is Catholic contemporary romance. It's a thriller, all the things. We all know I love this book, so no one is surprised it's here. Rome absolutely comes alive in this book. Not just the Vatican, Rome herself comes alive in this book. The hustle and bustle, the food culture, the churches, all of the history is on full display in this book, as are the Swiss Guards. And you really get nostalgic for Rome if you have been, or you suddenly really want to go to Rome if you haven't. And I don't know anybody who's read the book and hated it. It is that good. And it is just a fun, escapist read that is much more in depth than just a contemporary romance. And it has all kinds of, interactions in Rome, and just it's just quite lovely. It's just lovely. Okay, down to the last two. I didn't make this a huge, extensive pull, and I tried to avoid all the obvious choices on my shelves, like, Texas or London or any of those. So the next two are probably my shining examples for this entire list. First up of those two would be Valley Forge by Newt Gingrich and William Force Chen. This is the second book in the George Washington trilogy, and I don't need to explain where they are. This is set in the winter of 1777 and 1778 in Valley Forge, Pennsylvania. And as you might imagine, the environment is very much a character in this book. And you can feel the cold, and you can feel the suffering everybody's going on and through. And you just are thankful you are not in the midst of a dysentery outbreak and all of the things. And as spring comes and they edge toward the Battle of, Montclair? No, that's not right. Monmouth. I knew it was one of them. You see the surrounding countryside come back to life. And it's just another one of those beautifully written, the environment is its own character stories. And the book itself is masterful, but the environment in that book, you couldn't write the story if you failed to come close to grasping what conditions were actually like in Valley Forge that winter. So it succeeded. Okay, last one isn't a book recommendation. It is just a general author recommendation, because every book he writes that I have read, and I've read almost everything, the environment is absolutely 100% a character, influences everything that goes on in the story, and you have no doubt where you are in the world, because it is very obvious from the get-go. So I pulled this Tenderland by William Kent Kruger. This is a standalone. However, the first book I ever read by him was, here's the cover, Iron Lake. It's the first book in the Cork O'Connor series, and it is the Iron Lakes region of Minnesota. It is very clear, if you've ever been there, that's where it is. He writes that part of Minnesota so well. And even when especially in the Cork series, goes outside of Minnesota, be it South Dakota, Wyoming, surrounding states, if you've been there, you know exactly where you are in relationship to the book. There is no question, there is no doubt. He is in my opinion, the master of writing the environment as an essential part of the story. You know where you are, you know what it is like. You can picture everything perfectly. And especially when he's talking about how isolated regions of Minnesota or Wyoming are, or South Dakota for that matter, you get that sense of isolation. And these aren't, the Corporal Connor series is contemporary. This Tenderland is historical fiction, as is Ordinary Grace, which I also have. But you still get that innate sense that I know exactly where I am on the map. I know what it's like outside. I know what I'm feeling. He writes environment better than anyone else I have ever read. And that includes every other author on this list. Don't get me wrong, these authors are brilliant, but William Kent Kruger has this gift. It's truly a gift from God to write environment so well and so clearly that the reader is transported upon picking up a book. It doesn't take long. It doesn't, you aren't waiting pages and pages and chapters to get to the environmental part. You're just there. And it's a beautiful, beautiful experience. Highly, highly recommend. Okay. Like I said, short, brief video, but those books all have a very strong sense of environment and place. So, have you read any of these? Do you have any recommendations for me? Because I love books that have environment as that unsung character, especially when it's recognizable. So, let me know in the comments down below. Like and subscribe, and I will see you here next time at the Protagonist Pub.